In the last class, we were further getting into the Karma Yoga as we saw a few things. Introduction to Karma Yoga. We tried to understand what is this Karma and what is this Yoga means. So, in verse number, what we saw in the last class were verse number 41, 42, 43, and 44. Four verses we saw in the last class. So, what Lord Krishna was trying to say here is that he was highlighting about the knowledge, which he says that people who do not have clarity on this knowledge will look for many options for happiness in their life. But the person who has got the clarity of this knowledge is very clear and he has no confusion or dilemma. So the knowledge that he was referring to here is the knowledge that helps a person to achieve liberation. Liberation means getting away from the clutches of samsara, which is sorrow. So he has got this very clear-cut knowledge that is the only means to achieve them is Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Since it is very clear, he never run around for different options to get away from sorrows. And Lord Krishna says the people who do not have this knowledge, they run around here and there. They look for different options to get away from the sorrow of their life. So that's what Lord Krishna was saying. We were also getting into the three gunas, which is basic of the next three slokas, 42, 43, and 44. So the three gunas we were referring to, we were talking to about the sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. And the actions from these people are called the sattvic karma, rajasic karma, and tamasic karma. So sattvic karma is a selfless karma. The person who has the sattva guna is a selfless person. He is not interested about his demands or his requirements and accumulating wealth for his happiness. He is always focused on the growth of the world. So all the karma related to that is sattvic karma. Rajasic karma, people who have this rajo guna as a dominant guna, they are selfish, but to an extent they are also selfless. So how we understood that they want to acquire wealth for their benefit, for their happiness. At the same time, they also share their wealth and whatever that happiness they gain to some people, primarily their kith and kin. So there is a little bit of sharing happening in the rajasic karma, even though primarily they are selfish. But in tamasic karma, people who have this tamo guna, they are absolutely selfish. They are only concerned about themselves. And to achieve their goal, they are even prepared to do harm or hurt others. So there is not even an iota of selflessness in tamasic karma. So Lord Krishna in 42, 43 and 44 verses primarily refers to the rajasic karma, a person who is selfish but has got a little bit of concern for others also, primarily the kith and kin. So when he is describing them, what he says, these are the people who enjoy things from the outside world. And they quote the scriptures as a reference or a support. So when we say scriptures, as we saw in the last class, they are divided into two parts, the Vedas and the Vedanta. In the Vedas, there are a lot of yajnas and rituals to attain this materialistic wealth. If you don't have child, do this yajna. If you need this particular wealth, do this ritual. So there is all that actions referred there, or the karmas that need to be done to acquire materialistic wealth. So these people, the rajasic karmic people, they always refer to these Vedas and say, see, it is told in the Vedas. Why did they give so many rituals and yajnas? Which means they also say you go for the materialistic wealth. And they talk so nicely, they talk to others so beautifully in such a nice words, because the human weakness is always going for pleasure. This is the human weakness. As I have earlier mentioned that a farmer, when he wants to cultivate crops and do everything for the crop. Without any of his effort, the weeds also grow there. Similar to that weeds are our desire for pleasure. So it is there. And so when these people who are rajasic in karma, they always tempt. They use such nice words. They give you that rosy picture. By doing this, you get this much of wealth. As you can see many TV advertisements talking about, you come to my clinic, I'll give you a particular ring, or I will give you a particular designed copper plate, or do something, I will do this puja for you, and from then onwards all your troubles in your life will vanish and you will become a wealthy person. And people run for that. Those are the channels. Those are the channels in tubes which has got the maximum viewership and subscribership. So this itself says that we are inclined more towards materialistic wealth and the pleasure coming out of that. And these Rajasic karmic people always talk so nicely and lure them towards that. And people who are attracted by them, listen to them, follow them, fall in their path, they lose their faculty of steady mind, or clarity of mind is lost. They also keep running around here and there for that happiness and pleasure. And for them, pleasure is the ultimate. They say the life is meant to be happy. Why God has created so many things to enjoy. So enjoy your life. Have pleasure. That is the ultimate goal of our life. So having this pleasure, all activities oriented towards attaining that pleasure. So they seek these pleasures and they take references from the scriptures and they say it's already referred there in the scripture. So why should not I follow this? So these are the type of people primarily or maximum there in this world. And they say when they lose the faculty of mind, or when the clarity of mind is lost, that is where the trouble sets in. When your mind is not steady and it's always wavering from one thing to the other, what is it one can achieve in their life? When you're climbing over a stool to fix something in the wall and the stool is shaky, how can you do that? It's not possible. You can't concentrate on the work for which you climbed on the stool because the stool is shaky. Similarly, a person who has got this wavering mind cannot focus on anything, cannot concentrate on anything. And finally, what happens? He is never able to achieve anything in his life, and the sorrow continues in his life. And this is what Lord Krishna has communicated to us till verse number 44 from verse number 41. So, when we say people have lost their sins, people have lost the clarity in the mind, how do we understand this? Because everybody feels that I am a sane person. I am very clear in my mind. I am very clear in my action. So how to understand this, that a person has lost the clarity of mind? Is they have given that they lose their discrimination power. What is this discrimination power? We are going to see this in Bhagavad Gita. What is it you need to discriminate? We already saw this in the Jnana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga. Discriminate the truth from the untruth. Why? Because it's mixed. Where there is no mixture, there is only one thing is there. Duality is not there. Discrimination is not required. So the faculty of discrimination is absolutely required, because there are two things mixed up in this world of Maya: the truth and the untruth. What is the truth? We saw that in Sankhya Yoga. in verse number, in this chapter 2, before this Karma Yoga. The truth is that which exists all the time, that never undergoes any change in any of the time period, past, present, and the future, which has no shape, which has no emotions, feelings, anything. Satya and Nitya, that is present everywhere. And what is that? We understood that is the Atma, the pure consciousness. The rest of the things are untruth. They are called Maya. We are going to understand this Maya more and more as we travel in this journey of Bhagavad Gita. Just a small glimpse of Maya. Maya is that one tells that which is not there is there, and that which is there is not there. You understand? Am I confusing you? Let us give a very classical example that is always there in the scriptures or the Vedas. Snake and the rope. A person who sees the snake in the rope and scared and want to run away from there, assuming that the snake in the rope is going to harm him. Now, why did this person saw the snake in the rope? Because of his ignorance. Because of his ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the truth. What is the truth? The truth is, it is rope. Now, once he realizes it is not snake, it is rope, has there any change happened with the rope? Or is it that the snake changed into rope after his realization? No. The rope was there even before he saw the snake in it. The rope was there even when he saw the snake in it. And the rope is there even when he realized that it is only a rope, not a snake. So the rope was there all the time. It was only my superimposition of snake on the rope which caused the absolute confusion. Similar, that's what Maya is. It superimposes the untruth over the truth and makes you believe that what you see is the truth. And that is where we are confused and we run around for this untruth thing. And they elude us. They keep on eluding us. Have we ever become happy once forever after achieving something? You thought something is going to give you that happiness. You thought that bringing this television is going to give that happiness. Or you thought by going to this vacation you're going to be out of stress and you're going to be happy. But tell me, after that activity, have you been happy forever? As the story ends, always in the English, in the English stories for children, they lived happy forever. Is it the truth? No. When you go for the vacation, you are happy at that moment. And once you're back, the momentum of that happiness continues for some time. And then again, what happens? You look for a next vacation. Why? Because for the next burst of happiness. Am I right or wrong? So, in our life, happiness comes in bursts. It's not something that's a continuous one. Why? Because we are believing that superimposed Maya is the ultimate truth and we are running from that. So the discriminatory power is the one which helps the person to identify the truth from the untruth. The truth from the Maya. So a person who loses clarity of mind, does not have this discriminatory power. So this is a big loss, and that is where we are suffering into. So these are the things that we try to understand in the last class. And now moving on to this class, where we are going to see from verse number 45. We will see some certain things before we get into verse number 45. In verse number 45, Lord Krishna is going to give a small brief about the character of a karma yogi. So before we get into that, let us understand. In Vedas, we have heard about this Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. As I told you earlier, people conveniently take this Artha and Kama from the Vedas, and then they work towards achieving that. And let us also understand, since it is mentioned there in the Vedas, how we have to understand that is, it is required. You need that Artha, the material. You need that. And you also need to have that desire. You will have that desire. But what that Purushartha says is, there is something in the front and something in the back. That is the beginning and the last. That is Dharma and Moksha. If you want to be happy forever, the only thing that Lord Krishna refers to is attaining Moksha. As I mentioned earlier, Moksha is not something that you are going to attain after your death. Moksha is nothing but liberation. Liberation from the clutches of sorrows. Liberation from the untruth, that is the Maya. Liberation from the duality like pain and pleasure, sorrowness and happiness, victory and failure, death and birth, and so on. So when that liberation should happen, Moksha is not an ultimate goal. Moksha is the base on which our life is built or has to be built. So I need to attain this moksha when I am alive and as early as possible. Not at the age of 70 when your limbs are inactive, when your systems are not that effective, when your energies are drained out and nothing more for you except to really look for that moksha, attaining the abode. But as early as possible. That is why I always suggest Bhagavad Gita should be taught at a very young age itself. The more the child understands this Bhagavad Gita, and when I say child, let me also expand this. When the children at that age, when they understand this Bhagavad Gita and live their life accordingly, the whole world will be a fantastic world. A world with absolute peace. And moksha is what? When you are liberated, what is left? When you are liberated from this Maya, duality, clutches of sorrowness, what remains is peace, peace, peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And that is what we are running around for. Every action from us is aimed at attaining that peace. But if your action is not the right one, the result also is not going to be the right one. It's a very simple philosophy. Yes or no? So our actions are wrong. and hence we are not able to attain that peace. Struggling, stress. You do everything to get that peace, but you land up in stress. Why? Your actions are not the right actions. Your actions are not that which is going to give you that peace. It's like a doctor giving some medicine which is not the one that's going to take care of the illness. So what happens? The illness remains, at the same time new complications also starts. So that's where we are suffering. So Lord Krishna want us to understand that self-awareness is very, very important. How much I know about myself. Today Google will tell me everything that is outside me. What I want to know that is outside me, I can get it from Google. But is the Google able to tell what is inside me? Google can talk about this cosmos, universe, a particular galaxy. How big is the galaxy? What is happening? How many stars are there? Etc. etc. How far it is from Earth? What do you want to know from the external world? Today your internet will be able to give you that information. But will they be able to give you any information about yourself? So self-awareness is something that has to happen from within us, looking inward. So the more you know about yourself, that's what is it I am? Am I this body? Am I this mind? What am I? My body is not stable. It keeps on changing. It's not permanent. It's impermanent. My mind is also not something permanent which I can hold on, because it's also keep on changing. So if I'm looking myself as this body and mind, I'm holding on to something which keeps on changing, and that's not going to give me any solace, that's not going to give me anything that is very strong, dependable. So the self-awareness leads us to understand that I am not this body, I am not this mind, because when I did everything with the body, I got that pleasure for some time, but the pain also was there. When I did everything with the mind, the happiness was there for some time, but later on the sorrowness also followed. So as I told you, this reminder theory, a fantastic theory. When it is not my body, I don't get the happiness through my body. I don't get happiness through my mind. When in the reminder theory, if I don't get from these two things, then what is the next one that is left out? The Atma, knowing. That is what we call it as self-awareness. So he says that you live. I'm not saying that you should not go for this Artha and Kama, but don't depend on them for that peace. You need to have them for your survival. Let it be there to that much. But focus yourself on the self-awareness, self-discovery, knowing more and more about yourself. Lord Krishna says Artha and Kama should be secondary. If they are secondary, something else has to be primary. Yes or no? And that primary is what? Moksha. Peaceful mind. Because with Artha and Kama, with the materials that you have and the desire you have, but if you don't have the peaceful mind, you are not going to enjoy them. You are going to suffer with them. As we see, richer people, they also suffer with that money they have. They are worried about so many things. Theft, cheating, danger for their own life from the income tax people, so many things. So if money is going to give that happiness, all the rich people need to be happy and all the beggars need to be suffering from sorrowness, unhappiness. That's not the case. Rich people also suffer from sorrowness, unhappiness, which means money cannot bring that. You need money for your basic requirements. If you can keep your wealth to that extent, you can sleep peacefully in the night. You don't need a lock and key to take care of yourself. We think the security is from money. When I have enough money, I need not worry about my old age. Even if my children desert me, my money will take care. But when old age comes, some other problem comes, and you need someone to take care of you. Problems are going to be there. It's not going to give you that peace of mind. You may have the money to spend to take care of you, but it still doesn't give that peace of mind. So keep that as secondary, Artha and Kama. And primary is Moksha. So in 45, we'll now get into the verse number 45. Very, very important verse. Very important things are referred here. Vedas talk about 3 gunas. But Arjuna, you should be beyond these 3 gunas. Away from duality. Always stand for the truth. And stop going behind your needs and then trying to preserve it. Yoga Kshemam. So what Lord Krishna says, there are 3 gunas, but beyond 3 gunas, we are going to discuss this later. But here in this verse, Lord Krishna says, get into the Sattva Guna. Why? Because Sattva Guna is one where the person tries to learn more and more, improve his knowledge. So self-discovery comes only when you want to learn more and more, know more and more about it. So have that satsangam. People around you who are also interested in it. So get into this, out of these 3 gunas, get into the Sattva Guna and get away from the duality. How to get away from the duality? How will I be able to accept there is nothing like pain and pleasure? There is nothing like loss and victory. There is nothing like sorrow and happy. There is nothing like birth and death. So how is it possible? So that's where the first line comes. Get a Sattva Guna person has got that knowledge which helps him to discriminate from the duality. He will understand there is nothing like sorrow and happiness. It's all our making. It's all our making. So, and then stand for the truth. What is the truth? Take the truth as yourself. That is what the truth we talked about is the Atma. You look yourself as that Atma, not with the body and the mind. Identify yourself with the Atma. I am the Atma. I am not this body and the mind. That is what stands for the truth. And stop going behind our needs and then trying to preserve it. So how do we understand this word needs? It says, initially, we don't have any need basically. Our very basic needs are take care of our hunger, there is food, shelter, that's it. Security also we are looking for. If I have a big house with a strong gate, or if I wear that bulletproof, or if I have enough money, I am secured. No. We are going to understand the security is going to come from somewhere else. So our very basic needs are food to take care of our hunger and a shelter which will protect this body as long as you are alive from the external disturbances. Beyond that, they are not needs, they are wants. When you run behind these wants, now what happens? You want more, I want this, I want that, I want this. Is that need? As I told you in my earlier class, when you ask this question, the third question, what happens? What will happen if I don't have this? You will never get a very clear answer because they are not your basic need. What will happen without food? Maybe you will suffer from hunger, your body will get some problem, systems will get some problem, and whatever that you want to, that even the sattva effort will not happen with the body, with this deteriorated body. So you need that food. Shelter, yes. But rest of the things we are running around, do we really need them? Or they are our wants? So we try them, we like them, then we want them. Look at this, see, we see them, that's the first thing, and then we try them, second thing, then we get a pleasure out of it, now you want them, and when it becomes yours, you get attached towards this, now it becomes your need. Need means what? That without which you cannot live. So it becomes your need. Now once it becomes your need, you are in a situation that you cannot now live without them. Now what is the next step you are into? You are now into maintaining them, which means you are now putting all your efforts to maintain that, to be that with you all the time, not to lose that. So yoga kshemam, which is mentioned in this sloka. So yogam means yoga kshemam. Some of the words let me try to explain in this sloka, very, very important for us to understand in the right way. So yogam here means that materialistic wealth, and kshemam means your efforts to maintain them, retain them, not to lose them. Don't get into that. That's what Lord Krishna says. So now, why Lord Krishna says all those things here? See, karma yoga primarily is an act for purifying our mind. When our mind is polluted, when our mind is not pure, what happens is, even for the smallest or slightest pain, you run for a remedy. Why? Since your mind is not pure. How do I understand the mind is pure or impure? An impure mind is the mind which is not stable, wavering, and always running behind pleasure. This is an impure mind. So what is a pure mind? Pure mind is getting away from the duality, accepting there is only one thing, singularity, and that is Atma. There is nothing like pain or pleasure, loss and victory, or defeat and victory. Getting away from the duality, understanding, having the discriminatory power, discriminate the truth and the untruth. And this mind is called a healthy mind, a pure mind. A person who has got this type of a healthy mind, who has done this Siddha Suddhi and attained this healthy mind, will not worry for anything. He doesn't run for any remedy because he sees there is nothing like pleasure and pain. Only when I realize there is something like pleasure and something like pain, and whenever the pain is there, then I run for remedy. And when the mind is so weak, even the slightest pain, you start running for remedy. A small disturbance, you go and meet an astrologer. You go and meet that soothsayer, and he gives you something which is a solace but not a solution. And Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is giving you a solution, not solace. So the very important the need for us to get into this karma yoga, doing the karma as a yoga, is purify our mind. Siddha Suddhi. And a purified mind is not disturbed. And when you are not disturbed and the mind is very clear, and then only you will be able to get into the Jnana Yoga. We are going to see this little bit more and more. A lot of things we are going to have, the bits and pieces getting connected here with the more slokas as we get into the Bhagavad Gita. In verse number 46, Lord Krishna mentions the ultimate reward of karma yoga, that is moksha. What does he say? How does he say this? In a beautiful analogy here. In a lake, one gets much more benefits than from a pond. Similarly, a Brahmana gets much more Ananda in Moksha than from the Artha and Kama. What beautiful thing. What a beautiful verse. How powerfully he says. So we will see this simple thing. Pond is also a small collection of water. You get some benefit out of it. Maybe you get the benefits of drinking, or maybe a little bit more you can go for bathing. But look at the lake, you get the same benefits and much more out of it. You can use that water for agriculture. You can use this water for many people to have them, for them to drink, bathe, and so many things. Yes or no? So the lake not only gives the benefits of the water that is present in the pond, but gives much more benefits than what the pond can give. Agreed or not? Now he is connecting this analogy with a Brahmana gets much more Ananda from Moksha than from Artha and Kama. See how he is connecting this. Who is a Brahmana? So we are going to see this Varna. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya and Sudra. We saw a little bit. We are going to dwell upon this more. As I told you earlier, there is by birth, by karma and by guna. And when you say Brahmana, Lord Krishna refers here a person with the gunas of a Brahmin. There are certain gunas referred to be a Brahmin. As I told you earlier, by birth it is not accepted at all. It's a default happening. By karma, yes, to an extent. But the right way of identifying or understanding this Varna is only by guna. By guna only. So this Guna Brahmana who has learned this Vedas, scriptures and understood the Vedanta and has attained this moksha, the liberation, the peace of mind, will get much more Ananda. Now whenever we talk about this moksha, Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta, people will run away from that. The reason what they give, sir, if I get into all those things, then I will lose the worldly pleasure. Now with this sloka, Lord Krishna says, you can get the benefits of the pond in the lake, but you cannot get the benefits of the lake in the pond. You can get the benefits of the pond in the lake, but you cannot get the benefits of the lake in the pond. Similarly, you can get the benefits of the Artha and Kama in Moksha, but you cannot get the benefits of the Moksha in Artha and Kama. So by attaining Moksha, you are going to get a vast benefit. The benefit of Moksha, the peacefulness, also the benefits of Artha and Kama. So he talks about that attitude. I mean, he is now from here he is going to move to the attitude. Very, very important when you are in action. So that is something very, very beautifully said by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. We always think that, when I get into this Bhagavad Gita, when I get into this Vedanta, I'm going to lose all the pleasures that I get from the materialistic world, Artha and Kama. But what Lord Krishna wants to say is that you will get that pleasure of Artha and Kama in Moksha. But in Artha and Kama, you will not get that moksha. So he refers that moksha to lake. Like you get the benefits of the pond in lake, but not that of lake in pond. Similarly, you get the benefits of Artha and moksha. actually you only get the benefit of Artha and Kama in Moksha, not otherwise. Let us understand this. Not otherwise. When your mind is not in a state of peacefulness, how much ever you have Artha, materialistic wealth, you will still not be able to enjoy that. That's what I told you a few minutes back also. I am reiterating that point very clearly. A person who does not have a peaceful mind, whatever you give it to him, he will not be able to enjoy. A student who is ready to, who is going to write the board exam, a person who is waiting for the interview, a person who is waiting outside the labor room for the delivery of his wife, a baby, and so on. That few moments is a horrible moment for you. Why? You are not at peace. You are not at peace. When you are at peace, even the simplest thing will look grandeur for you. A curd rice will give that absolute pleasure for a person who is with peace of mind. But a grand feast will not give that happiness to a person who lost his peace of mind. Yes or no? So everything is in peace. Artha and Kama. Let us understand this. But peace, moksha is not there in Artha and Kama. So you attain that moksha, dear friends, you will be able to enjoy that Artha and Kama. And that's beautifully put forward by Lord Krishna. And as we go, we have to appreciate each and every sloka because it's been so beautifully narrated by Lord Krishna. So we'll try to understand this more and more. And for this class, we will stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.